بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He mentions in the Qur'an describing two categories of people. فَأَمَّا مَنْ طَغَى وَآثَرَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا فَإِنَّ الْجَحِيمَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَى فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى. The first category of people, Allah He mentions, and as for the one who transgresses the boundaries, then he prefers the life of this world over the hereafter. Indeed, the hellfire is his abode. And as for the one who prevents himself from following his evil desires, and he fears standing in front of his Lord on the day of judgment, then indeed the paradise is his abode. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentioned the first category of people, the one who transgress the boundaries of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And transgressing the boundaries of Allah fall under three categories. Transgression by way of a shirk, transgression by way of al-bid'ah, and transgression by way of al-ma'asi. When a person falls into a shirk billah, whether it is a shirk al-akbar or a shirk al-asghar, the major or the minor shirk, this is transgression of the boundary of at-tawheed, the monotheism of Allah Azza wa Jal. And when a person transgresses the boundary of Allah with bid'ah, bringing into the religion that which is not from it, doing acts of worship that Allah has not legislated in the Qur'an, nor are they legislated in the Sunnah, this person has transgressed the boundary of following the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And whoever transgresses the boundaries by way of al-ma'asi, the acts of disobedience, doing the sins, whether it is from the kaba'ir, the major sins, or as-sagha'ir, the lesser form of sin, then indeed the person has transgressed the boundary of ta'atullah Azza wa Jal, being obedient to Allah Azza wa Jal. So it is a must that we adhere to at-tawheed, that we adhere to following the sunnah, that we adhere to the acts of obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and stay away from ash-shirk billah, and stay away from al-bid'ah, and stay away from al-ma'asi. And we find that the people who indulge in transgression of the boundaries of Allah, a great part of that is desiring the life of this world over the hereafter. وَآثَرَ الْحَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا. And the person prefers and desires the life of this world, meaning over the hereafter. He desires the temporary pleasures over that which is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Desiring the life of this world over that which is with Allah is the key to the hellfire. Is the key to the hellfire. مفتاح الجهنم تأثير الدنيا على الآخرة. The key to the hellfire is preferring the life of this world over the hereafter. And likewise, مفتاح الجنة نهي النفس عن الهوى. And the key to the paradise is preventing the soul from following the evil desires. Preventing the soul from following the evil desires, this is the key to the paradise. This is the key to enter into the Jannah, because you fought against your own soul for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You strove to keep your desires in check for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the shaitan presented the sin to you and he made it fair seeming, you chose that which is with Allah over that temporary pleasure. You chose the reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over rewarding your desires with evil. And this indeed is the way to paradise. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد. Allah Azza wa Jal, He mentions, وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ وَنَهَى النَّفْسَ عَنِ الْهَوَى فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ هِيَ الْمَأْوَى. And as for the one who fears standing in front of his Lord on the day of judgment, and he prevents himself from following the evil desires, then indeed the paradise is his abode. And this is one of the benefits of believing in the akhirah, believing in the day of judgment, that we believe we have to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that we will be accountable for the things that we have done when we were alive in this dunya. So this iman and Yawm ad-Din, the belief in the last day, belief in the day of judgment, it causes us to have fear of Allah, and it is a cause for us to leave off the evil desires, because we do not want to be punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how often do we get the reminder of the hereafter? At least 17 times a day we say, Maliki Yawm ad-Din. Maliki Yawm ad-Din. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the owner of the day of judgment. When we recite Fatiha, this is a part of the Fatiha. And we recite the Fatiha at least 17 times a day in each rak'ah of prayer. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned, La salata liman lam yaqra bi Fatihatil Kitab. That there is no prayer for the one who does not recite the opening chapter of the book. In Surah Al-Fatiha, we have Maliki Yawm ad-Din. the master of the Day of Judgment. This reminder with this statement of Allah is a reminder that we have to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and be accountable for how we live in the life of this world. So the believer is constantly in the state of preparing for the meeting with Allah by preventing his soul from the evil desires, by striving to do that which is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But unfortunately, the soul is inclined towards evil. And even at times the soul is doing that which it thinks to be from the obedience of Allah, but in reality the soul is only following that which it desires. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned, وَمَا أَكْثَرَ النُّفُوسِ تَفْعَلْ مَا تَهْوَى. So often do the souls do that which it desires. ظَنَّةً أَنَّهَا تَفْعَلُهُ طَاعَةً لِلَّهِ. Thinking that it is doing this act or what it is doing out of obedience to Allah. How often the souls fall into this situation. The soul doing that which it wants to do, but thinking that it is doing it for the sake of Allah, but that's not the case. The soul is doing what it wants to do for the sake of itself and not for the sake of Allah. And this is from the dangers of the soul, that the soul will cause a person to believe that it is doing something good, but in reality it is only doing that which it desires of evil. Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, he mentioned, أنتم في الزمان الحق يقود ويقود الحق الهوى وسيأتي على الناس زمان يقود الهوى الحق ونعوذ بالله من ذلك الزمان. Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, he mentioned, you are living in a time where the truth, it leads the desires. The truth is in the driver's seat. The truth is leading the desires. But then there's going to come a time upon the people where the desires is leading the truth. And we seek refuge with Allah from that time. And indeed, Abdullah bin Mas'ud, he spoke the truth. Because in this day and time, we find the people giving preference to their desires over the truth. The desires are the leaders of the people, instead of the truth being the leader, like in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The truth led the people. The Qur'an led the people. The Sunnah led the people. The way of the believers, this was the way that led the people. But then after that time, the people started to give in to their desires more and more. And every year that comes is worse than the previous year. Look at the decline of the morals of the people. Look at the society and how it is going down as it relates to integrity, as it relates to morals and mannerisms. Things are happening in society today that were not happening 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. This is an indication that the desires have taken charge of the lives of the people. The desires are leading the people to the hellfire. So Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, he warned against this time that will come. And he reminded the people in his time how they were in a state of ni'mah from Allah, a blessed state, being that the truth was leading the people and not the desires. So if we want that blessing, then we have to go back to the time of old, meaning we have to follow the way of the first Muslims and be from amongst those who are led by the truth and not led by desires. We are led by the words of Allah. We are led by the example of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We are led by the way of the first believers. This is the key to paradise. This is fearing standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on that day and preventing one's soul from following the evil desires. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from amongst those who are led by the truth and not led by desires. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم وسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. أقم الصلاة.